Some days the morning feels light and promising. You wake up, pour a bowl of the same cereal you've enjoyed for years, or perhaps you toast a couple of slices of bread, just like always. It's a routine that feels safe, familiar, and comfortable. And yet, by mid-morning, a fog begins to settle in where there used to be focus. Your energy doesn't just dip, it feels like it's being pulled out from under you. Tasks that once felt effortless now seem to require a heavy lift of the will. It's a confusing sensation because on the surface, nothing has changed. But beneath that surface, the way your body handles your favorite foods has quietly begun to shift. If you've ever felt a sudden wave of fatigue after a healthy lunch, you aren't alone. Many adults over 60 are finding that carbohydrates, the very foods that used to provide quick energy, now seem to hit much harder. It's as if the rules of the game have changed without anyone handing you a new rule book. And often this change arrives not with a loud warning, but as a subtle loss of steadiness. Have you ever wondered why a meal that once fueled your entire afternoon now leaves you looking for a place to rest? That question is the beginning of a deeper understanding. It isn't that you are doing something wrong, it's that your internal machinery is moving into a different phase. Recognizing this shift is the first step toward regaining the vitality you deserve. Carbohydrates have always been our primary fuel source, the spark that keeps our engines running. But after 60, our body's relationship with glucose, the sugar that carbs turn into, becomes more complex. As we age, our cells can become a bit more resistant to insulin, the hormone responsible for unlocking our cells to let that energy in. This means the sugar stays in the bloodstream longer, leading to higher peaks and sharper crashes. This isn't a sign of failure, but a natural evolution of our metabolism. Our muscle mass naturally begins to decrease, and since muscle is the primary sponge for glucose, there is simply less room for that energy to go. So, the same amount of bread or pasta that felt perfect at 40 now creates a surplus that the body struggles to manage. It creates a quiet internal tension between what we eat and how we feel. Which brings us to a pattern many of us recognize but rarely name. Imagine a quiet afternoon spent with a book or a craft, a moment of peace you've looked forward to all day. You had a simple sandwich for lunch, whole grain just as you were told. But 20 minutes later, your eyelids feel heavy and the words on the page start to blur. That isn't just getting older, it is a physiological signal that your blood sugar is on a roller coaster. When carbohydrates hit harder, they don't just affect our physical strength, they touch our clarity too. The brain is a massive consumer of glucose, and it thrives on a steady, even flow of fuel. When that flow becomes a flood followed by a drought, we experience brain fog or a sudden irritability that feels out of character. In addition to physical fatigue, this metabolic shift can quietly erode our sense of emotional balance. Have you noticed how much more grounded you feel on days when your energy stays level? That feeling of being grounded is actually your metabolism working in harmony with your activity. It is a state where your body isn't fighting to process a spike, but is instead gliding along with consistent support. Achieving that state doesn't require a radical overhaul, but it does require a bit more intention in how we build our plates. In the world of nutrition, we often hear about good and bad carbs, but that language can be unhelpful and even a bit discouraging. It's more accurate to think about carbs in terms of speed. Refined carbohydrates like white flour, white rice, and sugary snacks are high-speed fuels that hit your system all at once. After 60, these high-speed fuels are the ones that hit the hardest because our brakes, our insulin sensitivity, aren't as responsive as they used to be. Slower carbohydrates, like those found in leafy greens, beans, and certain whole grains, enter the bloodstream like a gentle stream rather than a bursting dam. They provide the energy we need without the overwhelming hit that leads to the afternoon slump. But even more important than the type of carb is the company it keeps. When we eat a carbohydrate by itself, it has a clear path to spike our blood sugar. When you pair that carb with a healthy fat or a high-quality protein, you create a natural buffer. Think of it like adding a filter to a faucet. The water still flows, but it comes out in a manageable, steady stream. A piece of fruit becomes much more supportive when paired with a few walnuts. A slice of toast serves you better when topped with avocado or an egg. This buffering effect is one of the best senior health tips for maintaining a reliable sense of self throughout the day. It's about slowing down the absorption so your body has time to keep up. And as we keep up, we find that the crashes happen less frequently. We start to feel like ourselves again, capable of finishing the walk or the project we started. Have you ever felt frustrated because you're eating what you thought was a healthy diet, but you still feel drained? That frustration is a very common experience, and it often stems from the hidden sugars in foods we've been told are good for us. Yogurts, granola bars, and even certain bottled dressings can contain enough simple sugar to trigger that metabolic hit. It's a subtle gap in our nutrition that can make a massive difference in our daily confidence. This is where a bit of senior wisdom comes into play, the ability to look past the label and listen to the lived experience of our own bodies. If a certain food leaves you feeling shaky or exhausted, that is a data point more valuable than any marketing claim. Our bodies are constantly communicating with us, trying to tell us exactly what they need to stay steady. The challenge is simply learning to translate that language into a new set of habits. Another reason carbohydrates hit harder after 60 is the change in our gut's rhythm. The digestive system slows down slightly, and our microbiome, the community of good bacteria in our core, changes its composition. This can affect how we ferment fibers and absorb nutrients, making us more sensitive to the fermentation of certain sugars. So, you might find that foods that never bothered your digestion before are now causing bloating or discomfort. In addition to the physical hit, there is a hidden connection between carbohydrates and our quality of sleep. When we have a high-carb meal or snack late in the evening, the resulting blood sugar spike can interfere with our ability to reach deep, restorative sleep. As the sugar levels eventually drop in the middle of the night, the body may trigger a stress response to bring them back up. This can lead to that 3 a.m. wake-up, where your mind is racing for no apparent reason. Have you noticed that your best mornings often follow the evenings when you kept your dinner light and balanced? That isn't a coincidence. It's a reflection of your body resting instead of wrestling with a metabolic surge. When we give our system a break from the heavy hits, we wake up feeling more refreshed and ready to engage with the world. It's a cycle of support that starts with a single choice at the dinner table. As we navigate these shifts, it's important to remember that aging isn't a process of loss, but a process of refinement. We are learning to become more precise with our self-care. We no longer need the massive, undifferentiated energy of our 20s. We need the steady, high-quality fuel that supports a life of purpose, connection, and wisdom. This perspective shifts the conversation from what I can't eat to how I can best support my strength. It turns a dietary restriction into a lifestyle upgrade. When we choose foods that don't hit us hard, we are choosing to protect our focus and our mood. We are choosing to stay in the driver's seat of our own lives rather than being at the mercy of a blood sugar swing. There is a micro moment that many of us have shared, perhaps without even realizing it was a common experience. You're at a social gathering, maybe a birthday or a community lunch, and there is a beautiful spread of breads and desserts. You join in, enjoying the celebration, but an hour later, you find yourself retreating to a corner, feeling a sudden sense of social fatigue. You might think you're just getting tired of the noise, but often it's simply the carbohydrates hitting your system and pulling your focus inward as your body struggles to process the influx. When we understand this, we can move through those social moments with more agency. We can enjoy the celebration while keeping an eye on our own steadiness. Maybe we have a smaller portion of the treat, or we make sure to eat the protein-rich appetizer first. These small, invisible adjustments allow us to stay present for the moments that actually matter. Have you ever felt a sense of relief when you finally discovered why you were feeling a certain way? That relief is powerful because it replaces mystery with a plan of action. Knowing that carbohydrates hit harder after 60 isn't bad news. It's an invitation to fine-tune your routine. It gives you the why behind the fatigue, which is the first step toward making it a thing of the past. Nourishing the body after 60 is less about following a rigid set of rules and more about honoring a changing landscape. It's about recognizing that the standard advice doesn't always account for the unique wisdom of an aging metabolism. We are looking for the sweet spot where we have enough energy to be active, but not so much that we feel overwhelmed. And that spot is found through gentle observation and a willingness to try something new. As you move through your week, try to notice the hit of your meals. Pay attention to the 30 minutes after you eat. How is your breath? How is your clarity? If you feel a sense of heaviness, take a moment to look at the balance of your plate and see where a small shift might help. Could you add a handful of spinach to your eggs? Could you swap that morning juice for a piece of whole fruit and some almonds? These aren't diets, they are reinforcements. They are the ways we tell our bodies that we are listening and that we're on the same team. Over time, these small changes begin to aggregate into a much larger sense of resilience. The afternoon fog begins to lift, replaced by a quiet, reliable energy. The sugar crashes become a rare occurrence rather than a daily expectation. And with that physical steadiness comes a renewed sense of confidence in what your body can do. Because at the end of the day, wellness isn't about hitting a specific number on a scale or a blood test. It's about how much of your life you are able to show up for. It's about having the energy to play with the grandkids, to volunteer, to travel, or to simply enjoy a long conversation without feeling drained. By managing how the carbs hit, you are reclaiming the fuel for your most important work. Have you noticed how your outlook changes when you feel physically strong and capable? That connection between our physical state and our mental hope is the core of the senior standard. We believe that as long as you are breathing, you have the ability to improve your quality of life, one meal, one walk, and one mindful choice at a time. The way carbohydrates affect us after 60 is a quiet reality, but it doesn't have to be a limiting one. With a bit of awareness and some gentle adjustments, we can turn that hard hit into a soft landing. We can continue to enjoy the foods we love while ensuring they actually love us back. It's a journey of discovery, and every step forward is a victory for your future self. Every day is another chance to care for the body that's carried you this far. Keep learning, keep moving, keep believing in your own strength, because aging isn't slowing down, it's leveling up. If today's message resonated, take a moment to subscribe, leave a thought in the comments, or share this video with someone who could use a little encouragement. Because together we're proving that aging well isn't the exception, it's the standard.